Good evening. You're with The Last Word. I'm Kavita Krishnan. And today we are talking about the foul air that citizens of Delhi NCR are forced to breathe. Delhiwalas, it is bad enough that you have to choke on the toxic air in your city. But things are about to get worse. The pollution watchdog, the EPCA, is now proposing a ban on private non-CNG vehicles. Yes, these are your cars and your bikes that the EPCA is talking about. Or the EPCA says that the government could consider bringing back odd even. Now the EPCA says that this is the only way to keep air quality from further deteriorating in the national capital. But what it also means is that while your governments have failed you one more time, you, the citizens, will bear the brunt. On The Last Word tonight, we ask, is a ban on private vehicles the only option left? Is Delhi ready for such a ban? And the most important question of all, is it fair that citizens have to pay every single time? That's the debate coming up after this report.
In the latest bid to fix the worsening air quality of Delhi, the Environment Pollution Control Authority has now proposed a ban on non-CNG vehicles. The pollution watchdog suggested the ban be imposed if the air quality remains in severe category.
It is a very drastic measure if the Environment Pollution Control Authority chairperson Mr. Bhurelal is actually suggesting that private cars be taken off roads to reduce pollution. Clearly in the letter that he has written to the Central Pollution Control Board, he says that vehicular pollution is also a bigger contributing factor to the pollution crisis in the national capital. While he suggests that transport or public transport should be used more often, it is difficult for people to use public transport also because the Delhi state transport needs to augment it.
If the situation demands that private vehicles should be banned, we will ban it. And whatever situation demands, it may be odd and even, it may be complete ban of private vehicles, we will not hesitate to undertake any such decision.
That's not all. Even the Delhi government is not ruling out the option of bringing back the contentious odd even plan.
देखिए ऑड एंड इवन जैसी जरूरत होगी वैसा करेंगे.
It's not the first time that restrictions on private vehicles will be imposed in Delhi. Back in 2016, the odd even plan was implemented twice in the city, but had little impact on pollution. Delhiites, on the other hand, are less than amused. They are questioning the lack of preparedness on the part of centre and state, and also want long-term solutions to the problem of toxic air.
I have a young daughter and I'm very nervous if she's in public transport. And I would prefer her to be in a private car.
ये प्रैक्टिकल नहीं है और इसे ऑफिस जाने वाले लोगों को और जो काम पे लोग जाते हैं उनको बहुत दिक्कत होगी. और आप ये देखिए कि इनको सरकार को ये सोचना चाहिए कि पोल्यूशन की एक्चुअल वजह क्या है.
कभी बोल देते हैं कि पोल्यूशन फार्म बर्निंग से हो रही है, कभी बोल देते हैं कि डीजल से ट्रक से हो रही है, कभी बोलते हैं और फिर एक्शन लेते हैं सिटीजन्स के ऊपर.
So tonight we ask, are restrictions on private vehicles the only solution to improve Delhi's air? And more importantly, is the city ready for such restrictions? Let's debate.
And that's the topic of debate tonight. And joining us on the panel, you, the citizen. Our phone lines are open. Pick up the phone, call in and join that discussion. We also have Akash Banerjee with us, author and political satirist. Bhaskar Ghosh, spokesperson of the BJP. Jyoti Pandey Lavkare, who is a citizen herself, co-founder Care for Air. Rajat Rai Handa, environmentalist. Akshay Marathe, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. I'll begin with our two citizen voices on the panel. I'll begin with Akash Banerjee. Akash, is it fair that you have to pay for the fact that your governments have clearly not done their job?
Oh, come on. I mean, as we have debated and discussed it earlier, we've had this discussion last year. We'll have this discussion again next year. Because you see, the citizen is the easier one to catch. We all know that stubble burning was a problem. We all know it was a very stubborn problem and nobody dare touch the farmers, whether be it the Congress, whether be it the Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab, which is in the opposition, nobody dared touch them. So first and foremost, let's get this fact very clear. I think all citizens who are watching this should know that they are the scapegoats. Okay, so first and foremost, let's get that out of the way. The citizen is the easiest one to catch and tell them not to run their cars, and the government can go away saying, look, we did something. That's point number one. Point number two, how many people of the Central Pollution Board, this hi-fi board that has given this groundbreaking scientific approach that we should continue using CNG vehicles and not any other vehicle, an odd and even scheme? Send your reporters to the Central Pollution Board and see how these members of the Pollution Board travel to their office and back. And I'm telling you, you will not be surprised. Point three, odd and even. Delhi is a very, very industrious city. We've already cracked odd and even. Go check out an average household in Delhi that has 2 cars and you will find out the numbers are odd and even. It's a bit of a joke, really. Remember, Arvind Kejriwal used to champion the odd and even scheme. He doesn't even talk about it because he even understands what a farcical move it was. So suddenly, Arvind Kejriwal has gone all quiet on the odd and even scheme because it doesn't work. Lastly, last point, and I'll have this, and you can then take this debate, and many people will have their many points of views. But I, as a citizen, want to know one thing. Can somebody please tell me in my city, what is the reason for this pollution? Because in your channel, I've had a BJP spokesperson tell me it is Arvind Kejriwal running industrial units. I've had the Aam Aadmi Party say it is crop burning. And I'm also told that apparently it is vehicular pollution also. As a citizen of this city, I do not know what is the scientific reason why my kids, why I am breathing toxic poison on a daily basis. If we can start off with that answer, what is, and let me throw this challenge to you. You will not be able to find a consensus even to that simple question on this show. I can assure you of that.
You know, Akash, I am not going to ask the political representatives the answer to that question. I'll ask the scientist on the debate. I'll ask the environmentalist. Rajat Rai Handa, would you want to answer that?
Yeah. So there are a lot of studies, and yes, it's correct that a lot of studies have different reasons, but there are 3 primary reasons that have been identified across every study. The first and foremost is your road and construction dust. Your secondly is your industrial emissions, and third is vehicular emissions. These 3 sources are the main contributors to air pollution and particulate matter in Delhi and across India. Of course, then there are other reasons such as open burning of waste, there's lack of standards and regulations. But if we have to look and pinpoint at 3 specific reasons, I would say it's road and construction dust, vehicular emissions, and industrial emissions. And knee-jerk reactions like banning vehicles is not going to solve this problem. We have seen this tried before also. It was not successful. What we need are long-term solutions, and most importantly, we need to get in better standards, better regulations, and get them enforced. You know, for vehicular emissions, we need BS6 that needs to come in. For industrial emissions, we need to start shutting down the overtly polluting ones and move towards renewable energy sources. These are the long-term solutions. Shutting down, banning private vehicles or odd and even is just not enough. It's like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound.
Right. Rajat Handa, would you recommend moving industry out of Delhi? They've started doing that to an extent. They've asked polluting units to shut down.
If it is possible, yes.
But would you agree that they have to be moved out of Delhi? And when you say out of Delhi, then where do you move them to?
See, when you move these industries out of Delhi, one major problem is who replaces them. So I think moving the polluting industries out is absolutely necessary. But what the government also has to focus on is building capacity for renewable and cleaner energy, because the major problem is, for example, the Badarpur power plant. When the pollution hits very high levels, the Badarpur power plant is recommended to be shut down. But then where does the electricity come from? The government is not building capacity for cleaner fuels. We are still using dirty fuels, even in 2018, when we know that climate change and air pollution are such pressing problems.
Right. In fact, let's find out just how stressful it is. Jyoti Pandey Lavkare, tell us, how has the current situation in Delhi, the pollution, the toxic air that you're breathing, how has that affected your life? And do you think it is fair that if the government does end up either bringing back odd even or it ends up banning private cars?
So two questions. One, it has affected our lives in every possible way. We have children who are not being able to play outdoors. We have our elderly who would like to exercise outdoors. They are not in any situation with the air so toxic they can't go out. We ourselves are not able to exercise or do anything outdoors. Also, this private solution of having air filters in our house. By the way, most of the top government officials have air purifiers bought on my taxpayer and your taxpayer rupee, and the filters of that air purifier go straight to the landfill, which is anyway overflowing, and they are burnt and they get back into our lungs, especially into the lungs of the poor who do not have the money to buy these expensive air purifiers. So this whole thing of positioning this as an elite problem, let's just call that bluff and say it is not. Our poor are the worst affected. That's one point. The second thing, when you say, is it fair? Of course it's not fair. I think the ministries, firstly, of course, the politicians have let us down across party lines, and the BJP is as bad as the Aam Aadmi Party, which is as bad as the Congress. A simple thing, even within ministries, the climate change ministry had said, by retrofitting filters in existing power plants, they would have been able to bring down air pollution levels by 30%. That's 30%. If they had done it at the time they were supposed to, which was last year, December of 20. In fact, I think it was December 2017 that they were supposed to do it. The Power Ministry, which is a central government ministry, got that push forward to 2020 for Delhi and 2022 for the rest of the country. So even what they can do, they do not do. Now let's come to enforcement. There is no enforcement. You may have construction, on the face of it, yes, we are not supposed to be constructing. Please step outside at night and see what happens on the roads. Construction is going on full swing. Dirty fuel is being used. There is partial ban of imports of pet coke and furnace oil, which are the most polluting and dirtiest fuels that the developed world is dumping on us, and we are happily buying it because it makes more money for the private people who are making more profits. But the collective cost of all of that smoke and all of that PM 2.5 that goes into our lungs, no one is looking at that. These are the things they should be attacking first. These are the things they should be doing rather than the simple step of, making an announcement odd and even. They're even odd and even. Why target the license plate? Look at fuels. Bring in more electric vehicles. Bring in cleaner cars. You are not even able to buy electric vehicles, electric buses as public transport for Delhi. Where are people supposed to go? How are they supposed to get to work?
Precisely. Very pertinent question over there. Would you all care to answer that, Bhaskar Ghosh and Akshay Marathe? Very pertinent questions, and more importantly, the very significant questions that our politicians across party lines do not care, they have failed. Would you choose to answer that first? Bhaskar Ghosh.
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you that there is enormous amount of discussions going on about the different level of pollutions and the intensities. But see, the solution what the present Delhi government has given is a full of politics. They are having a GRAP system, that is graded response action plans, and to implement those graded response action plans, they need huge infrastructure. They need 3,500 traffic person, 5,000 civil volunteers, and they need a lot of things which they don't have. And they are exempted the women two-wheelers as well as the CNG and the emergency vehicle. Now, the registered two-wheelers in Delhi is more about 40 lakhs, which contributes a lot to these air pollutions. And this, about 60 lakhs. So this is, again, they are targeting the larger masses with their vote bank satisfaction, with their vote bank consolidations. But this should not be the approach. Like the central government has discussed and decided that by 2020, 1st of April, BS6 quality of the fuel will be provided. So central government has taken a bunch of measures in order to improve what they can do, that they can manufacture in all their petrochemical units, all the processing units, the latest Euro 6 or BS6 standard of fuel. What they are doing it, and they have declared a timeline for that also. At the same time, now 10,000 additional auto rickshaw permit has been given by the Delhi government, Aam Aadmi Party. So this auto rickshaw, again, they are also contributing
Bhaskar
to all
Bhaskar
the pollution.
Ghosh, tell me, you just
So,
spoke
be it
about
CNG,
Bhaskar Ghosh.
that
One second.
contribute.
Why such an
Now-
extended deadline? Why till 2020? Delhi is choking today. Children, our children are not able to go out and play
That's right, but
today.
all the
Why are we
refineries-
waiting till 2020? How long does it take? Delhi's had this
Well,
problem
Kavita,
for
try
the
to
last
understand
3
that
years.
we
For the
need a
last
huge
3 years, we've
amount
been
of
talking about this.
infrastructure in order to produce. Yeah, but all our refinery has to be attached with the additional infrastructure or additional facility in order to manufacture that. And at least we have given a deadline. But the way
refineries,
the
by the way, are already producing this BS6 fuel and exporting it to other countries.
Is Mr. Ghosh satisfied with the development? Is Mr. Ghosh satisfied with the work that is being done by the central
refineries are
government? I just
already
wanted to know
producing
from him, because he
BS6
sounds
fuel.
very confident, very relaxed.
Mr. Ghosh, answer both of that.
No, we have also
We also have Jyoti telling us that BS6 fuel is being manufactured in our country. Jyoti claims that we have BS6 fuel being manufactured in our country.
And everything. Whatever measures from central government is supposed to be taken, we are taking it.
Why have you extended the deadline to retrofit purifiers in power plants to 2020?
That has been done by
No,
the
because
Power Ministry.
those are exclusively a technical,
their own ministry,
technical
the Climate
matter,
Change Ministry.
and the refineries has given the
companies
response
invest in that technical
that they cannot
infrastructure?
manufacture this entire requirement of Delhi.
Can't the companies invest
Sorry?
in that? Can't the power companies invest
There is a lack of political
in
will.
that
There is a lack of
infrastructure? No,
political
no,
will.
there is also a problem. The power companies are in a very bad shape. But can't the government help them do that?
The government's own power companies are creating pollution.
Bhaskar Ghosh?
No, even the power company is now insisting of using using the biocarbon or those kind of the biofuel, which will create less amount of pollutions, and NTPC is working heavily and they have invested a lot of money on that.
No, but why the extended deadline? Why the deadline extension? When there was a deadline, why didn't they meet the deadline? Very simple. Most of us over here on the panel will not have a job tomorrow if we don't meet deadlines.
That is the thing. I mean,
Bhaskar Ghosh,
refineries.
Bhaskar
This
Ghosh,
is depending on the refineries' feedback. This is depending on the refineries' feedback.
Bhaskar Ghosh, let me ask Akash. Akash, if we don't meet our deadlines that are given to us by our bosses, would we have a job tomorrow?
I just want to know one thing, because Mr. Ghosh is, with all due respect to him, he's sounding very, very calm and confident. I'm sorry, I'm sounding a little agitated. I just want to know from Mr. Ghosh does he consider what is happening in the national capital, despite rains, that we are still in severe or very poor category? Does he first and foremost consider it as an emergency? I just want to know that from him, and then I have 2 points. Does Mr. Ghosh think of this as an emergency?
No, certainly. This is an emergency.
Mr. Ghosh?
He says it's an emergency, but I'm sorry, Mr. Ghosh.
Mr. Ghosh, please,
I can't hear you. Running short of.
Please allow me 2 minutes then. If this is an emergency, If this is an emergency, just allow me 2 minutes. If this is an emergency, Mr. Ghosh, I am just putting it as a plea. I am not even getting into the politics of it. I am putting this as a plea. There can't be any more of this tutu-me-me between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP and the Congress. Because the last time I had a discussion here on the channel, I was told, what can the government do? Should we dismiss the Aam Aadmi Party government? I don't care. Dismiss it. But do something about the situation. And if you think that the only way that the central government can do something in an emergency situation in the national capital is to dismiss the Aam Aadmi Party, then there has to be more political thinking. If we are admitting to the fact it is road dust, if we are admitting to the fact it is industrial pollutants, are you saying that the residents of the national capital will have a problem if the government sends in an army of people to clear out the roads or to get the industries out of the national capital? Do you think that there will be a rebellion in Delhi if the industries are shut down? The problem is that the government does not think that this is a national emergency. If the central government thinks there is no Aam Aadmi Party, there is no Arvind Kejriwal that can stop you from actually acting. The sorry state of affairs is that despite the fact that we are admitting to this as an emergency,
government, Mr. Banerjee, try to understand the central government is responsible for giving the guidelines. Implementation of the guidelines is depending on the local administration. And the government who is running the present is there, the Aam Aadmi Party.
What if those guidelines are not implemented? Do you not have any responsibility there? Mr. Banerjee, one second. Akash Banerjee, one second.
If it is not implemented, whatever is
one second. I'm calling for some order on the panel, please. One second. Bhaskar Ghosh, you say your responsibility is to give guidelines. What if those guidelines are not implemented? Does your responsibility end over there? I will come back to you for that answer. I need to give Akshay Marathe a chance to talk. Akshay Marathe, would you want to answer what Jyoti just said and what Akash has said and what all the other citizens have said?
I give an example. Kavita, I've just given an example. This hologram sticker, which has been mandated by the central government,
Bhaskar Ghosh, I'll give you time to talk.
Has not been followed.
Bhaskar Ghosh, I'll give you time to talk. Let Akshay Marathe speak. Akshay Marathe, please go on.
So, like I was saying, I completely feel the anguish that everyone on the panel is feeling. I'm a resident of Delhi. I'm also having breathing trouble for the last month or so. But while I say this, let me also say that if you look at Delhi's air quality index between the months of January to September, it's either moderate or poor. And that suddenly changes when you enter October and November. It suddenly goes from about 200 or 250 to straight away to 400, 450, 500. And it even touches about 7 or 800 AQI when there is peak days of crop burning. My only point when I'm saying this is that between the months of September and October, neither does the number of vehicles increase in Delhi, nor do the number of polluting industries increase in Delhi. So while I completely admit and accept that Delhi has local sources of pollution, like everyone has pointed out, whether it's construction dust, road dust, polluting industries, vehicular emissions, all of these things, all of these factors remain constant throughout the year. It's not that suddenly in October and November that these local factors see a spike. This points us to a very, very clear pattern where for the last 3-4 years, we have seen a spike in crop burning in the states of Punjab and Haryana. So while on the one hand there is localized sources of pollution which the Delhi government has to deal with, the reason that we are all debating this matter right now is because the air quality index has gone to remarkably high levels. And most of the component of pollution that is leading to this sudden spike is coming from outside of the city of Delhi. And it's not just affecting Delhi, let's be clear. The entire North Indian plain has been affected by this. There is no scope for any debate on this fact. Even the NASA satellite imagery has shown this. The Central Pollution Control Board's own data shows that more than 30 to 35% of pollution in Delhi in this month has come from crop burning. This is not to dispute the other studies which talk about the entire year's pollution. Right. But because we are in this situation right now, which is the national emergency.
Akshay Marathe, frankly, you've given me this explanation.
This is again.
Akshay Marathe, we've had this conversation, like Akash has been pointing out, quite a few times. One second, Jyoti, I'll come to you. We've had this conversation repeatedly. And quite
Please
frankly,
allow
I
me
know.
to finish. Just
One
like,
second, wait.
I
Akshay Marathe,
think-
I've
I
allowed
think
you
this
to
debate
finish.
is about the EPCA's
Akshay Marathe,
proposal to ban
I've allowed you to
vehicles.
finish your point
In that
number
context,
of
let me
times.
just make one point.
In that context, let me tell you one point. This is a letter that the EPCA has sent. I'm sure your government has a copy of the letter. Just for the benefit of my viewers, let me read out a bit that the EPCA has written. Now, this is from the letter. It says that as far as crop burning is concerned, the contribution of crop burning peaked on November 5th, went up to 33%. After that, because of the direction of the wind, the contribution has ranged between 5 to 14%. This is in the month of November. Also, on page 2, it goes on to say that as far as vehicle emissions are concerned, they are a big part. They are a big part of the pollution in the city. A lot of the pollution in Delhi is from its own sources, and vehicular emission amounts to around 40%. Akshay Marathe, are you contesting what the EPCA is saying?
No, I'm not at all contesting what the EPCA is saying. These are the exact figures that I was saying. It had crossed beyond 30% at the peak. That is precisely what I was saying.
But you omitted to tell us that it's come down to 5 to 14%.
The EPCA's proposal to ban all private vehicles.
You omitted
telling
us.
No, but after that you had Diwali, with the entire week was affected because of Diwali. I'm sure you understand how this works. That once that crop burning level had gone down, we suddenly had the week of Diwali. Which is why again you had a problem for the entire week. I know everyone in Delhi is aware of this problem. It's not that I'm hiding anything. When it comes to the EPCA's proposal on banning private vehicles other than CNGs, I don't think this is a viable or a sustainable solution. There are two reasons why I don't think so. Number one is that throughout the year, those who are using high emission private vehicles are using them for their own luxury, their comfort or whatever. But when you ban these vehicles, you will have a huge number of people shifting to public transport, whereas the public transport system of Delhi is not envisioned to take the load of the entire city. So what will happen is that the burden of air pollution will be borne by those people who actually don't
Akshay Marathe, that the system is not envisioned to take the load of the people of Delhi.
That's my point.
I'll come to you. I'll come back to you. We have a caller on the line. Dhruv has joined in from Delhi. Dhruv. One second, let the citizen talk.
Kavita,
One second, let the citizen talk. Akshay Marathe, let the citizen talk. Let the citizen speak.
City in the world
Akshay Marathe, let your citizen, this is your voter on the phone line, let him talk.
Let's have a debate on facts.
Akshay Marathe, let your voter talk. Dhruv is on the phone line from Delhi.
Hi, so this is actually very funny, what is going on. First they give us the facility of buying cheap cars, and then they tell us don't drive. This is like literally a joke what these people are doing with all of us in our lives. And what concerns me is that all this while the auto industry has boomed in the past 20 years, were these people, the government people, the bureaucrats sleeping over the fact that what are going to be the side effects that are going to come along with it? They actually were sleeping over it. And on top of that, today they are looking at solutions which involve the public to change at large. They are not looking at anything where they would say that we will bring in new technologies to clean out, to purify the air. So they are not looking at any of those things. They are looking at the fact that we as politicians will remain same in our systems, corrupt the way we are, the styles of working.
Right. Dhruv, I have a question for you.
Completely the public should change.
Dhruv, I have a question for you. Would you care to explain to your government representatives just why you bought that cheap car?
Because it was a cheap car, the facility was available. It is obviously convenient to drive to a place rather than using a public transport. And also, there was no metro at that point of time in Delhi for me to think also that I would not use the car and, take them.
Do you have an option now?
Now I have an option, but still at the end of the day now, life is already so set with the cars being into it. Today, if you come and tell me suddenly completely take cars out of the situation, I don't think our lives can really survive for a very long time because they don't even have enough metros, they don't have enough buses. So somewhere there is a very big gap. The BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party are just politicizing the issue, playing the blame game between each other, and it's only happening at the cost of millions of lives in Delhi.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you very much for calling in. Rajat Rai, Handa, I know you wanted to come in. Yes, I'll come to both of you. I'll come to you, Jyoti, and to Akash. But Rajat has been wanting to join.
I just want to make this point very clear. I want to make this point very clear. You know, we always do this. If it's Diwali, we're only focusing on firecrackers. If it's crop burning time, we're only focusing on crop burning, and now we're only focusing on vehicles. We have to understand that the reason why air pollution is such a problem in Delhi is because it is multifaceted. There are multiple reasons at play, and all of those reasons have to be tackled aggressively. Otherwise, you are literally facing down an air apocalypse just a few years down the line. Forget everything else. Even if we have to focus on immediate, most important solutions, I would say that capping vehicular emissions through better fuel standards, BS6 2020, as soon as possible, whenever it's possible, is coming in, but also industrial emissions. I mean, last year also in 2015, there were some coal-based emission standards notified for coal-based thermal power plants, and they're still not in place. Every time it happens. Last year also, when the Supreme Court recommended phasing out diesel vehicles, the auto industry got together with the government and they got that also to be pushed back. So why is there such a pushback always from industry at the cost of citizens? And when solutions have to come forward, you expect the solutions to come from by banning situations. All right, let's do a blanket ban. And at the end of the day, we don't even have the enforcement capability to implement that
ban. And the same auto industry is on the EPCA panel.
So, how many citizens are there on the EPCA panel?
Well, one of them, the automobile industry is represented on that EPCA panel. That's a direct conflict of interest right there for you. Why does the EPCA need an automobile industry representative on its panel? And coming to the EPCA, by the way, how come we only hear the EPCA speak up when air pollution has become so bad? What do they do the rest of the year? I really want to know what the EPCA is doing. I think this authority needs to be wound down and reconstituted because they do nothing the rest of the year. They have a conflict of interest. They have the lobby, the automobile lobby embedded within that panel, and they do not. I really liked what Dhruv said. Why do you make these cars so cheap? You tell us we can buy cars, but we can't use them. Why should we buy these cars? We don't need to buy these cars. Let's stop the automobile industry from manufacturing these cars first. They are supposed to come out with Euro 6 compliant engines. They are already pushing back. In the Supreme Court, the amicus curiae had to push back on the government, saying that please give them more time to sell off their old Euro 4 compliant engine cars. They have a huge inventory of those, and allow them to sell these bad engine cars so that they can make their money and we can breathe bad fumes of even if you put Euro 6 fuel in a Euro 4 compliant engine, it is not going to give you the same amount of benefits. But the EPCA keeps quiet on that because they have an automobile lobbyist right there with them. That is one point. The second point, when Akshay Marathi says that we know it's a very clear pattern, everybody knows crop burning is going to happen.
Yeah.
No, I just want to finish with Mr. Marathe, because when he says it's such a clear pattern the whole year through, how come they don't think about then if they do need to do odd even or whatever they need to do, they know it's going to happen around crop burning time. They know they have no control on farmers in Punjab and Haryana. How come all these ideas of odd even, CNG, etc. don't come out before? No, because everything is reactive, everything is band-aid. There is no plan.
Jyoti, let me get to the others. Jyoti,
all parties have failed us entirely.
Let me bring. I know Akshay, you want to come in, but Akash has been trying to make a point. Akash, go ahead.
I'm not going to take too much time. I'm just going to make two quick points. I know there are a lot of people wanting to speak. Just one. So I completely agree on the fact that we've never heard about. I mean, I am involved in social media so much. I mean, I track news every day. I haven't heard about this environmental committee, etc., etc. Do send your reporters and find out how do they come to their office on a daily basis. The second point, I'm going to be blunt about this. I'm from the national capital. We are known to be very blunt people. I would rather have my kids, my wife, travel in a private vehicle, breathe polluted air, breathe poison, than to travel in the public transport system of Delhi, Noida, Ghaziabad. I would rather have them have lung diseases rather than being killed and raped. I am being very, very clear and open here. I will not, and I will try to break the law as much as possible. I will try to circumvent the law. I'm aware I'm talking on national television. I will try to circumvent the law as much as possible because I will put the safety of my kids and family before any stupid decision that some guy sitting in some EPCA while coming in his government sarkari diesel gadi is going to thopo down on me. So let's be very clear. I think Delhi has had a lot of this problem as far as the odd and even scheme. There was a lot of anger. If they do it again, they are only going to do a bad job out of it. There is a lot of issues, as pointed out correctly, many multifaceted issues. The sad part is none of those multifaceted issues are being addressed, not even one.
Precisely. And Akash, I thank you for being blunt. And that brings me to the other part of the discussion. Clearly, you do not have enough public transport. You do not have the capacity that is needed for the city. The second big problem is that your public transport, if it exists, is not efficient enough. There aren't enough feeder options available. The third problem, which Akash so rightly pointed out, is that your public transport is not safe at all. Would both our political representatives want to answer that? Akshay Marathe?
So I think there are two ways to look at this. One is that, of course, there is a need to augment public transport. There are 5,000 buses. We are in the process of purchasing 3,000 more buses. But on the other hand, I also think that as a society, we need to take a look at what Akash also just said. That Akash is not willing to send his kids and his family by public transport because he thinks that they are not safe. While on the whole, I agree that Delhi as a city has a law and order problem. Let me also tell you that public transport is not the villain that it is being made out to be. I use public transport every day of my life. I've used it in Delhi for the last 2.5 years. I know, I recognize that I speak as a man and as an older person. I understand that there are concerns with children and women. But at the same time, we also have to look at all the developed societies of the world. All of them eventually moved on from private vehicles to metros, to public transport. So on the one hand, let us address the fact that there needs to be an augmentation of public transport. But let's also move out of our age-old thinking that हमारी गाड़ी होनी चाहिए, हम गाड़ी से जाएंगे. We also have to move as a society beyond these.
अक्षय मराठे, age-old thinking की बात नहीं है. Age-old thinking की बात नहीं है. Akshay Marathe, if tomorrow all the people in Delhi decide to leave their cars at home and take public transport, do you want to hazard a guess as to what is going to happen?
Chaos.
We have Jitendra on the phone line from New Delhi. Jitendra, what do you think? What will happen? One second, we have a citizen on the phone line. Akshay Marathe, I'll come back to you.
Out of context.
Akshay Marathe, I'll come back to you.
Out of context.
Akshay Marathe, you wanted a change. I'm talking to you about that change. One second. Jitendra is on the phone line from Delhi. Jitendra, go on.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. I would like to make 2 points here.
Go on, Jitendra.
Yeah, first, I would like to thanks to your channel. I think you are the only channel, you talk about 2025 channel, you are the only channel who take up the issues which are related to public only. I really don't find anything here like other channels do, Hindu, Muslim, Mandir, Masjid, Yogi, Modi.
Right, Jitendra. Thank you very much. Go on. Please ask your question.
My question is to both the parties today sitting here, Aam Aadmi Party and BJP Party. They are almost for 4 years in power. What measurement they have taken in last 4 years to stop this pollution in Delhi? What exactly they have done for last 4 years? Every year we face the same problem. We are staying in Delhi. I have 2 children.
Guidelines.
What measurements you have taken? I want to ask both the parties here. Please let us know.
Right, Jitendra. Thank you. Bhaskar Ghosh, I saw you put up your hand and say guidelines. I come back to the question that I left you with. Is your job, does it just stop at putting guidelines on a piece of paper and giving it to the Delhi government? Aren't you supposed to ensure that those guidelines are carried out, that they are met, all those deadlines are met? Isn't that part of your job?
And what about stopping crop burning in Haryana? Please do ask him about Haryana government's
No,
failure.
no, Kavita. I think I am going to give an example. Allow me to speak. I am going an example that not even guidelines. We also take actions in several cases. For example, we have already tightened the emission of the carbon monoxide and the measurement of the hydrocarbon emissions. For diesel, we have made it mandatory to have the oil temperature and RPM to be measured. And every checking units has been forced to give a 4-gas analyzer. And there is several cases we have taken action and cancelled their registration in case they do not have. So it is not a mere just by giving a legislation or giving a guideline within of the purview of the Central Pollution Control Board, whatever steps to be taken, we have taken immediately. So it is not that we are standing
why didn't you allow that ban on diesel vehicles, on private vehicles that run on diesel? Why didn't you allow the ban on private diesel vehicles? Why are diesel cars still being sold in our country?
Yeah, that's why Kavita, Supreme Court guideline we are observing, even government is not buying any further diesel vehicles. Supreme Court guidelines
Why is it being sold?
Have been followed vividly. No diesel vehicles is being...
No.
That's not good enough. Why is it being sold?
The government challenged it.
I'm sorry, Jyoti had some very important points. Are you letting our lungs burn? Are you letting our children choke for company bottom lines?
The world is coming into our
country. Bhaskar Ghosh?
No, that is also guideline.
Are you doing that for company bottom lines?
Whatever in stock should be allowed to be sold, and we are not.
Cheaper than petrol.
We are observing it.
Okay, you were going to talk to us about crop burning. You clearly don't have an answer for that. Talk to us about crop burning. What have you done to contain crop burning apart from giving money? Giving funds to the Punjab government and the Haryana government.
Let me tell you two things. Number one, whatever we have total particle matter, like 2.5 PM, it is increase up to 300 micrograms, and PM10 is 500 micrograms. For crop burning, your sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxide level is not going to go up, which is more concerning for the health hazards.
You know, Bhaskar Ghosh, I do not want a chemistry or a biology lesson. I'm sorry, Bhaskar Ghosh. My question was very simple. You had to work with the government
I'm coming to your question
multiple states to ensure that the stubble is not burnt. It is not crop, it is stubble. To ensure that stubble is not burnt. Why haven't you been able to do that?
ONGC has recently come up with a guideline and with a guideline that from agricultural waste to ethanol production,
can
they are
we not
going
use
to
the
give
word
a
guideline
subsidy.
anymore in an emergency
We
situation?
are also promoting. No, but without guideline, how can you operate? And ONGC is giving also subsidy in case you use the technology for converting the
Bhaskar Ghosh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
On the ground, farmers have reported they've got no subsidy.
Bhaskar Ghosh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Farmers have not got subsidies.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have about 5 minutes left on the debate. We've reached a point where there is no return, clearly. The EPCA today has proposed a ban on private cars or the odd even or rolling out odd even. Clearly, the situation is very bad. I have two questions to both you and Akshay Marathe. Do you recognize? When will you recognize that this is a national emergency? That you need to act now, not tomorrow. Not day after tomorrow, not next week, now, in the very next minute. And second, if you are forced to bring in a ban on vehicles, if you are forced to roll out odd even, are you prepared? Because clearly you are not prepared. Do you have an alternative to odd even or to a ban on vehicles? Answer the question. Bhaskar Ghosh.
First of all, we have to see the practicality part of it. That if you ban on the vehicle, then in Delhi, every 1,000 citizen has got 500 vehicle. So what will happen to the huge vehicle which will be standing? So instead of going into banning on the vehicle, let us take the other measures to reduce the pollution levels, and then whatever is to be done in case of odd even, because odd even, if it is to be implemented, the public transportation system infrastructure like the rapid transportation system or rapid public transportation
systems. What can you do in the next 5 minutes, in the next 1 hour?
Has to be augmented.
What options
also
do you have? Levels. Bhaskar Ghosh, what options do you have? What can you do tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. The measures which has which is falling under the guidelines has to be strictly implemented. Action should be taken on that in case of even minor violations, and then increasing the infrastructure of the public transportation systems to that level that
you know what, Bhaskar Ghosh, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Children in Delhi are choking now. We don't have time for that. I'm sorry. You're talking long term. And in the long term, all that happens is that you and the AAP government both fight amongst each other. That's all that happens. I'm sorry to say this. Akshay Marathe, what is the option or the alternative that your government has to either banning private vehicles or to rolling out odd even? And what can you do tomorrow to help pollution levels come down?
As far as banning all vehicles is concerned, I see no way in which the Delhi government or the traffic police can actually implement this order. It's not possible. I don't think that there is any scope in implementing such an order anywhere in the country, let alone Delhi. When it comes to odd even, the Delhi government has a plan in place. We are prepared for it. The EPCA has to direct us to do it. We are ready for rolling out odd even like we have done in the past also. The only thing that what happened the last time is that the exemptions on certain individuals or certain classes of people had not been allowed. But if those exemptions are allowed, I think we are in a situation to implement odd even today. But let me also say this, that even with odd even in place, you are not going to be able to solve the entire problem.
But tell me, why you are exempting the two-wheelers? Why are you exempting the two-wheelers, which is about 60 lakhs?
From outside.
Do you have an option if you don't exempt two-wheelers, Bhaskar Ghosh? They don't have cars. You don't have enough buses.
No, I think the Aam Aadmi Party has already declared the exemption on two-wheelers.
Bhaskar Ghosh, how will they go to work?
Two-wheelers should not be given.
Bhaskar Ghosh, let me tell you one thing. All of us need to go to work every day.
Again, they will use the public.
If we don't reach office on time, our salary gets cut.
Exactly, and they will be used to public vehicles.
Do you have an option to that?
See, Aam Aadmi Party, instead of increasing or augmenting the public utility systems, public transporting systems, they are talking about appeasement of a certain section of the voters.
Bhaskar Ghosh, I'm sorry, you're part of the problem.
Kavita, let me just give me 30 seconds. Kavita, just give me 30 seconds.
Very quickly, Akshay Marathe, I don't have 30 seconds.
Yeah. You know, there was some discussion about how the auto industry prevents any long-term reforms. And let me just give one small example of how that happens. The Delhi government has been trying to buy electric buses from outside the country because there are no local manufacturers. There is a 150% stamp duty, duty on purchasing these vehicles, which the central government is refusing to waive, and this is in collusion with the local manufacturers.
Akshay Marathe, you've taken your time. I'm sorry. It boils down to the fact that you both are fighting amongst yourselves.
Give an example. Go to the Nagpur.
I'm sorry. It does not matter. It boils down to the fact that both of you all have been fighting amongst yourselves through the year when you all should have been working. That is the reason we find ourselves in this situation today. To all the citizens of Delhi, the Delhi government may choose to agree with the EPCA proposal and ban private cars, or it may decide to roll out odd even. That is, of course, the government's prerogative. And frankly, you as citizens of Delhi will have to fall in line, because right now, the citizens, that is you, do not have a choice. But Delhi's governments, Centre and state, both of you, would do well to clean up your act and the air in the national capital before the elections. Because remember this, come elections, Delhi ki Janta will have a choice and then they will exercise it. Thank you for watching.